Blessings, one and all, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ascension Podcast. I'm your host, Paul James Caden, and this week we are going to be talking about the Heaven's Gate cult and what lessons we can learn from the tragedy that happened to these 39 people back in the March of 1997. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Heaven's Gate cult, just a brief overview. This was started by two individuals, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. And the story is, as far as we know, and I've always been interested in this particular group. I think a lot of people are. And I was watching a documentary that Diane Sawyer had on ABC, I think it was last night. And a lot of the information was stuff we already knew for a long time about these individuals. There was a couple new pieces of information, but not really a whole lot. And that really kind of inspired me to want to, talk about this. But anyway, a little background on this group. It really started with an individual by the name of Marshall Applewhite, and his father was, I believe, a Presbyterian preacher. And it seemed he was quite talented. He did some acting, he did some singing. There's a recording of him singing opera. And he had a very powerful voice, and everybody that knew him back in the day before he kind of went off the deep end said, geez, what a nice and pleasant guy he is, very, very friendly. He brought a lot of positive energy, to whatever he was doing. He was married, he had, children, but then things started to change where his marriage disintegrated, and Marshall Applewhite said he was living a lie. He was, gay or bisexual, and he went to tell his parents, and his father really rejected him, because of his homosexuality. And that's when Marshall Applewhite really started spiraling into depression and anxiety. And eventually he said he was having strange dreams and visions and feeling anxious. And he checked himself into a hospital where he met this nurse, Bonnie Nettles, who said, well, Marshall, you're not sick, you're not crazy. Basically, you're a prophet, you're a very special person, and I'm going to show you how to embrace your gift, so to speak. So Bonnie Nettles quit her job as a nurse, went on the road with Marshall Applewhite, and they had various little cults along the way where they would call themselves Bo and Peep, Winnie and Pooh, all these little cutesy names that they had. And, they had kind of a, small following for a while, but it really kind of took off when they changed their name. Geez, I want to say, was this the late 1970s or sometime in the 80s when they changed their names to T and Doe? Marshall Applewhite was Doe and Bonnie Nettles was T. And they started this whole, it was always kind of a UFO cult. I guess Bonnie Nettles was really into a lot of New Age practices and astrology, and she really introduced Marshall Applewhite into this notion that he wasn't from this planet. He was special. He was something else. And somewhere along the line, it turned into Marshall Applewhite saying he was the second coming of Jesus Christ, and Bonnie Nettles was his heavenly father, who this time returned to Earth with him. And eventually they became T and Do. The Heaven's Gate cult was born, and they started recruiting more people. Eventually, Bonnie Nettles had cancer in her eye. She had her eye surgically removed, but the cancer had spread throughout her body, and she eventually passed away. And this was emotionally crippling to Marshall Applewhite. And this is when the cult of Heaven's Gate really started talking about, we've been waiting 20 some years for this UFO to come and take us away since the inception of our little group. And now maybe it's time that, they're telling us we should do something about it. We should discard the human vehicle, the material body. And once upon a time, the teachings were the human body could be transformed. You could enter the kingdom of heaven, or what they called the next level above human, without dying. Through certain disciplines, you could transform the body and ascend into the kingdom of heaven. But at the end, it became, we need to discard these human vehicles to, get to the next level. And it was March. We're coming up on the anniversary of their death very shortly. It was the March 26th or 27th, 1997, where the group ingested pudding or applesauce mixed with various medications, committed mass suicide, and 39 of them, including Marshall Applewhite, were found in the house they were renting, the kind of a little mansion, really. And they were all dead. They had the Nikes on their feet, all dressed in black with veils over their heads. And it was a pretty big cult mass suicide. And, it's strange that you can go on YouTube and look up Heaven's Gate tapes, Heaven's Gate cult members, and you'll see movies. As long as YouTube didn't take them down, I'm imagining they're still up, where there are talks by Marshall Applewhite talking about himself being the second coming of Christ. He's the guy, if you want to go to the kingdom of heaven or the next level above human, you have to follow him because he's the one who now has the keys to the kingdom. All kind of strange cult talk. There's videos of the followers, and there used to be on YouTube, unless it was taken down for some reason. I watched it, probably 3-4 years ago, the final messages of the members of the cult before they committed suicide, basically saying goodbye, farewell, we're so excited to do this. It was their departing message before they took their own lives. And it was a very stringent cult. They weren't into gender. They all had to get their haircuts the same way. They all wear the same kind of clothes, these baggy, kind of shirts and pants. Everything they did, from showering to shaving to making pancakes, how many, what size. Bathing should only take 6 minutes. When they went to bed, 3 people to a bed. It was very, you never had bathroom time alone. The door was always open. Someone was in the shower. Someone was on the, the toilet. So it was a very structured lifestyle that they lived, because the idea was, when we get to the next level above human, we're all going to work together. We're all like a cog in the wheel of this great cosmic kind of fellowship. And it was kind of creepy, that Marshall Applewhite, he would often talk about Star Trek. It's going to be like Star Trek when we go to the next level. And he said the Borg was a good example from Star Trek of what the next level would be like. And the Borg were basically this. If you're not familiar with Star Trek, I'm not a gigantic Star Trek fan. I like it, and I'm familiar with most of it, the heroes and the villains and the captains. But the Borg were half human, half android. They all shared one consciousness. And when they would speak, what they would say, I am the Borg, we are the Borg. They didn't have any independent thought. They were all one consciousness, and that's what they did. They would come upon, other species and, take them and incorporate them into the Borg. And some of the cult members dropped out after this. They thought that was a little creepy. They're not going to be individuals anymore, but this shared consciousness, like robots, like the Borg. But it was very, very peculiar cult. Different in some ways than other, and I think that's why so many people have had interest in it over the years. The teachings, the regimen, the way they lived, and it's said to be, when the cult committed suicide, that it was the largest suicide on American soil. So that's it's a pretty big thing. But certainly in this half hour, 40-minute show, I'm giving you the peanut shell edited version, of the Heaven's Gate cult. If you're not familiar with it, there's a lot about them out there. There's a docuseries, a 4-part docuseries on HBO Max. There's the Diane Sawyer documentary. There's other documentaries and books. Fascinating, but tragic and sad and frightening all at the same time. Because a lot of these people that joined this cult before they came upon the Heaven's Gate cult with T and Doe, they said that most of the members were very, very intelligent people. Some of them, quite educated. They had families, they had, parents that left their kids, husbands that left their wives, wives that left their husbands, fiancés that, people that were engaged that just left their fiancés, their mothers, fathers, families, and went off and joined this cult. And, that's the big question, is that how could something like this happen? How could intelligent people be talked into this crazy notion that this man, Marshall Applewhite, was the second coming of Jesus Christ, and actually end up taking their own lives for him and his crazy religious ideas and philosophies? And ladies and gentlemen, that's our jump off point for this particular show, is to ask the question, could something like Heaven's Gate happen again? And the answer to that is absolutely. And the way the world is right now, we are ripe for another Heaven's Gate, or maybe even multiple Heaven's Gate all happening at the same time. They had, I forget what her particular skill was, her education, but there was a woman who, was an expert on cults and, the way they indoctrinate people. And she said in the show that when society is in upheaval, when things in our world are uncertain and there's chaos and a lot of fear or uncertainty, that these are the kinds of times where cults will flourish. And she even made the statement that, much like the world we live in today. There's so much going on, and there's so many voices, especially with the internet, all these people that are saying, hey, I can tell you the truth. I can lead you out of this chaos. I can help you get over your fear and your self-doubt and all the anxiety. I can lead you to the truth. So she said the same thing. We are ripe for another Heaven's Gate, if not multiple Heaven's Gate incidences in our world, because there are cults everywhere now. And if you've listened to my show for any amount of time, back when I had the spirit side, 5-6 years ago, and I just recently retired that show, I talked a lot right from the very beginning about the very cultic mentality of our world right now, our society, and a lot of this that's going on in the internet. And I've had the warning from day one telling people, be careful. Be careful who you follow. Be careful who you're hooking up with, saying, oh, gee, this guy has all the answers. This guy's so smart. Oh, brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so. Because a lot of these people, and you know my story, I started making friends pretty quickly in the YouTube community. And some of the folks were the more popular voices. They have thousands of followers, like, 80,000, 80K, 105K, 205K followers, and get just as many views on their videos. And, I was, just ran across these people. I didn't know who they were. I didn't have anybody say, oh, you should watch this guy or listen to this particular person or, whatever. I just came upon them because I watch a lot of spiritual stuff on YouTube. And a couple of them, I kind of liked what they said. And, I didn't know how popular they were. And I just said, geez, what an interesting talk. He seems like a really decent guy. I'm going to reach out. Oh, sure, I'll be on your show. Great. Thank you for reaching out. And wow, like I always said, what went on behind the scenes was creepy stuff. Really creepy stuff. I mean, some of these people could be a new incarnation of dough. And you probably heard me tell the story before. Some of these folks did not like to be questioned. And if you asked one question and said, hey, what did you mean by that? Do you think maybe that was a little harsh? Or maybe, how dare you question me? I'm going to make an example out of you. I mean, folks, this is cult leader mentality. They're people that are filled with ego, and they are people that do not want to be questioned. And they will turn on you like rabid wolves if you question them. So, I'm just not whistling Dixie in the dark when I say, wow, it is creepy out there. And be careful who you are following, who you are saying is a great teacher or a great prophet or, whatever, great ministry. Because some of these people are, as they used to say, setting traps with honey. And you don't know who they are behind the scenes. So be very careful. Because something like Heaven's Gate could definitely, absolutely happen again. And, going back to the question that I asked a little while ago, how could people that are living normal lives, they're intelligent, they're educated, they have good jobs, computer programmers, engineers, people that are not stupid by any stretch of the imagination, how do they get caught up in something like a Heaven's Gate? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and you can read the books and watch the documentaries and, listen to the cult experts, all the different ways and techniques that these people use to worm their way into someone's mind. I'm the guy you should be looking to. You're going to be lost without me. Everything you think you know, throw it away. I'm telling you what to believe. I'm telling you what to think. There's so many different techniques that they use to lure people in. But see, I want to go a step further with all of that. Because there are the mental and psychological reasons and techniques that they use to rope people into the cult. But I also think there's some very big spiritual reasons why people get caught up into these things. And once again, I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I promise I'll keep it brief. You've heard me tell my story, being a very young person, feeling this loving presence around me, just kind of experiencing and knowing this being that, I now call God. And from a very young age as well, having that feeling, and my family wasn't religious, in any stretch of the imagination, having this feeling since I was a little kid, we're not all from this world. We're from somewhere else, and we're just really botching it up here by the way we treat one another and the way we do things. It's so backwards. And I say that because I think all of us know that on some level. And most people that you talk to, they'll have a point somewhere in their lives, whether it's very early childhood, whether it's around 4 or 5 years old. Some people it might be 10, 11, 12. But there's some point in just about every person's life that you talk to where they will say they've had that feeling and that knowing this is not their real home. There's somewhere else they know that they came from, somewhere else they know that they're going, and sometimes, they just long to go there. That feeling, you've heard me say it before, like this feeling, this like, man, I really want to go home. I'm kind of tired of this place. I think all of us know what that feeling is. And I think all of us, most people you talk to, again, if you go back quite early in their life, somewhere along the line, they'll say, geez, I had this like mystical connection with God before I even knew who God was, or maybe my family was religious. And then religion came along and took all that away from me and said, it's the devil. You have to believe this. And they indoctrinated me. And for a while I was lost. Well, that sounds kind of cultic, does it? Because a lot of religion, organized religion run by man, can be cultic. Look what they say. We're the true religion. We're the right religion. Oh, you're not baptized by our church. You're going to hell. If you don't partake of our sacraments, well, you're not saved. You're not getting into the kingdom of heaven. You're locked out of the ark like all the heathens. When Noah went into the ark before the flood. There's all this stuff that's so can be so very cultic around organized religion. And we've all experienced that, where we've hit that wall, and some of us made it through the wall, and some of us did not. It's a rough trip to get through that wall. It definitely is. But I think all of us know these two things at some point on some level. We're not from this world. There's somewhere else we're from. There's somewhere else we're going. And our personal connection with God that at some point has been polluted or taken away or traded in for organized religion. And most people Most people will admit, they go through life, they're feeling kind of empty, they're feeling kind of sad. We all do. I mean, there's chronic depression, that should be treated, and we should, maybe talk to somebody, get counseling, even, medication, even if that medication is temporary. And then there's just every day where people get the blahs. They'll have days once in a while like, man, geez, there's got to be more than this. As my grandfather used to say, what an ass backwards world and system we live in this place. And I think that is one of the main reasons people get roped into cults, because they know this world is flawed. They sometimes get very tired of the ways of this particular world. We all do. It's normal. And they want to belong. They want to belong to a group that's like them, understands them, on the same quest as them. And you hear people say that these days, I'm looking for my tribe, I'm looking for my people, I'm looking for my tribe. Everybody seems to be looking for their tribe. And where are they finding it? Well, mostly on the internet. Mostly in these internet religious groups. Oh, I found my tribe. Oh, I found the people that just like me. And see, that's where we have to be careful, because they might not be just like you. They might be looking to take advantage of you to make you just like them, or make you their follower, their servant, their disciple. And unfortunately, a lot of them are. So I think, these cults certainly take advantage of that feeling, that knowing that we all have, that this is not our real home. There has to be something more. And sometimes we just get tired of this, this system. And I think also the big thing is because, which is a real, possibly the bigger reason people get roped into cults, is that relationship with God. Either they never had one, or they had it when they were very young, and then religion came along and really polluted it. And I go back to the words of Jesus. He said, my sheep know my voice, but another voice they will not, stranger's voice they will not follow. And I think when we lose contact or don't know what the voice of the inner Christ is, it's very easy to follow another voice that says, hey, guess what? I'm Christ. I'm the second coming. I'm the guy that holds the keys to the kingdom now. You want to get there, got to follow me. So they don't know, people being duped into this, they don't know the voice of the true Christ within. And so they'll start to follow any voice. And, folks, I think we have to be awfully careful these days, because, there's a lot of people on the internet and a lot of movements out there who have this notion, the apostles, those early Christians, they had it all wrong. They got absolutely everything wrong about Jesus and the Christ and, the second coming. We can't trust. We can't trust anything that they believed. We can't trust anything they wrote down in the Bible, or it's all in code and you need me to interpret it for you. You can't possibly understand it yourself, because it's, again, so backward. You need me to tell you what it really means. I saw one of these guys on the internet the other day, and he was reading through the verse when Jesus said, In the last days, many will come in my name and say, I am he, but, don't follow them. And he stops right there and he says, now, a lot of people think this means people are going to come in the name of Christ saying they are Christ or claiming to be Jesus. But that's not what Jesus is saying. And he reinterprets it to mean something else because this guy tells his followers that he's Christ. And they are too. They're all Christ. They're like the Borg Christ. They're all Christ. Jesus, he's just, he's kind of a throwaway guy that, he's really not going to do a whole heck of a lot for you. You got to realize that you're Christ. And then, I heard him also use, at one time misuse the biblical phrase, when it talks about Jesus in Isaiah. And it said what is the verse when it says the governments of the world will be on his shoulders? Emmanuel, God among us. And he interpreted it and said, the governments of the world are on our shoulders because we are Christ. And when I hear this kind of thing, I just kind of like sink back in my seat and I'm like, oh my God, there's like 105K, 150K people, listening to this and believing it. Because folks, let me just tell you here and now, as someone who's, and I don't know everything there is to know, and I want to insert this footnote right now. I'm not a guy who claims to know everything, but I know what I know. And I've studied for a long time the topics of prophecy, the language of the Bible, Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic that Jesus spoke. That doesn't mean I'm fluent in any of those languages, but I understand the Bible better based on how it was said in their language. I also look back at the early Christians, not that there weren't disagreements among the early Christian leaders and churches, because there were, but there were key things they all believed. And there were some of the people that we call fathers of the church that were students of the Apostle John and, so forth. So they were students of the apostles, and they handed on the teachings of the apostles. So I'm not a guy who knows everything, but I know what I know. And I always tell people, I'm not here to try to get followers. I'm not here to try to be anybody's leader. I don't want any of that. What I do want, what I am here for, what I am making shows like this for, is just to put positive seeds out there in the world, common sense seeds, seeds that are actually based on ancient truth, in hopes that people will hear them and rethink some of this cultic garbage they're being indoctrinated with today. Because this guy's saying, here many people say Jesus, says many will come in his name and claim to be Jesus or Christ. That's not what he's saying. There's going to be false Christ people saying they're Christ. Because right away that makes him a false Christ because he claims to be Christ. But folks, you better believe that's what Jesus meant, and that's what the apostles and the early church believed. From the very first century, there are going to be people coming saying, hey, guess what? I'm Christ. I'm Jesus. And don't believe them and don't follow them. They are false prophets, false Christs. They are liars. They are wolves in sheep's clothing. Do not follow these people. And you get these cultic personalities spinning the truth, going back into the biblical concordance, online and saying, see that word there, see that word there, here's what he really means because of that. And people just swallow it hook, line, and sinker. And this is why Heaven's Gate could definitely happen again in triplicates or quadruplicates, if there's such a word, because there's so much of this going on in an uncertain world we're in right now. This place right now, this world we live in, this system we live in, it's crumbling. People know it. People can see it. People can feel it. It can be a little bit unnerving to some. And people are scrambling to anything to feel safe, to fit in, to have a group. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Cults know people want that, and they play on that. And a lot of people in this, dare I say, jackass reinterpreting the words of Jesus and saying the governments of the world is on our shoulders. Wow. I'm really going to feel badly for some people when it all hits the fan, because they're not going to know the truth and what's going to happen in the end. Are we looking at another mass suicide? Because some of these people online have said, when I give a certain sign, we're all going to run off to this place in the middle of nowhere and take a stand. Are we looking at another, David Koresh scenario with some of these folks? It's concerning. And that's why I say, if we don't know the voice of the true Christ within, we'll follow any voice that tells us it is Christ. And this is what it leads to. And people get hurt. People get killed. People get deceived. People end up eating chocolate pudding or applesauce with medications in it that is going to euthanize them, like the Heaven's Gate cult. Because we don't understand what the words of Jesus are saying. We don't understand what he taught. We have people reinterpreting what he taught for us. And some of it sounds really good on paper. But if you know a little something, about church history, about what Jesus really taught, if you know the voice of the shepherd, you'll right away have that leading to say, hey, wait a minute. There's other verses. There's, other verses in the Bible. There's other things that shoot down what this guy is saying. Because he's picking and choosing to build a false idol. And that's what a lot of these people are. They're false idols. Their cults are like false idols. Like the idol in Daniel where the feet were made of clay, the legs were bronze, the chest was gold, and the rock hit it and the whole thing shattered. And that idol that is in the vision in the book of Daniel it's truth mixed with lies, mixed with, old empire ideas. It's an amalgamation of things that cannot stand on its feet of clay. But it's still an idol that some people will look to. And that's what some of these people are. That's what Heaven's Gate was. And this is why people can be talked into committing suicide, going to war with the government, running out into the middle of nowhere, armed to the teeth, taking a stand and getting their followers killed, possibly for nothing. Because that's the thing about prophecy, folks. And you've heard me say this before too, but it bears repeating. The ancient Christians and the ancient church believed prophecy was conditional, meaning we have free will as human beings to always make a choice to go in the right direction, which is repentance, turn around and go the other way, or we can take ourselves through our own stubbornness, our own foolishness, straight into the apocalypse. It's conditional. And that's why you see in the Old Testament so much where it says, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. But if you turn your face to God and you repent and you pray, you'll be spared. All this will go away. All this will not happen. So are people going to go out in the middle of nowhere and take a stand, against the government over vaccines and mask mandates and end up getting themselves killed when it's something that will eventually pass away and be done away with anyway? It didn't amount to anything. It didn't amount to the New World Order. It didn't amount to, Are people going to drink poison Kool-Aid because they think there's a UFO, coming to take them away in the head of a comet? Because they think the world's going to end, and, it doesn't. Prophecy is conditional. So when we get people out there telling you, here's what's going to happen, here's what they're going to do, here's what, all the, we have to have some common sense. We have to know the voice of the Christ within, which guides us into all truth. And Christ will never lead us into committing suicide, waging war on people, taking up arms against other people. Christ will never lead us to some group following some man telling us that he's our prophet, he's our Christ, he is Christ. So be careful. And I get a little passionate when I talk about these things sometimes, because I see so much deception. What many call the gospel isn't good news anymore. The love is absent. It's a lot of people being set up for a great deception or a lot of hurt, because there's a lot of cultic personalities out there right now. And when I hearken back and I look back to, the March of 97, where these 39 people took their lives, and the question is asked, could this happen again? Wow, could it? It's like I barely know anybody outside of a handful of a few who don't belong to some kind of cultic group or follow some kind of cultic group on the internet, in their neighborhood, a new church. There's weird new churches springing up where I live right now. I never heard of them before. You think I'm going to those places? Nope. Never heard of that before. Not going to bother with that. They're everywhere. And we have to be careful. So I would encourage everybody to watch the Diane Sawyer documentary. Go on HBO and watch the Heaven's Gate 4-part docuseries. Just look at what this man did, the things he told his followers, and look at a lot of these personalities in the world today. We got a lot of T's and does walking around, and you don't want to be their victim. You want to be free. because he or she whom the Son makes free is free indeed. So, folks, I hope you got something out of this show this week. I really appreciate you listening. I've had your ear now for 45 minutes if you've made it this far. So, again, I very much appreciate it. Until next time, take care, stay safe, stay well, stay in love, and be careful who you follow. Be careful who you listen to, especially anyone who's telling you they are Christ or they're reinterpreting, the words of Jesus. Well, that's not what he meant, and the apostles had it all wrong. This is usually a really big red flag that somebody's setting the trap with honey, and you don't want to get caught in it. Be discerning, stay in love, and I'll see you next week here on the Ascension Podcast. God bless everybody.